Was Anglo right to reject this offer?
It was certainly expected by most of us that they would. I mean, the premium that was kind of implied by the offer was only about 13–14% on the close. You know, for a company that's been around for 100 years and were trading above that offer just as recently as last year, it feels like a lowball bid. On top of the fact, on kind of what they've highlighted in their statement, that, you know, the structure was very unattractive. I mean, they were asked to spin out Kumba and the Anglo Platinum stakeholdings to their shareholders, which would have created a huge amount of flowback uncertainty. We saw it with Thungela a couple of years ago. That whole register nearly flipped within 10 days. So to try and, you know, accommodate that would be incredibly difficult.
What is the BHP rationale for pushing for that restructuring that, as you say, has all those complexities?
Yeah, it's it feels, I mean, part of it is probably a size issue, so it would be an easier business to absorb. But clearly, it sends the signal that they're not interested in South African assets. They've already made that clear when they spun out their other South African assets with the South 32 vehicle. So I could see why the South African government might be a little sensitive to them doing it second time around.
What would be, do you have a view on what an attractive premium or an appropriate or a fair premium would be for this business?
It would have to be, it would be, I mean, for us, we're looking for at least 30% to the close, I think, for that to be considered by the board. But even then, it is challenging. I mean, the reason why Anglo flags this as being so opportunistic is that they have massively underperformed the rest of the sector over the past 18, 24 months or so. So, you know, this is ever since they've had, like all mining companies, have had a bad run of operational mishaps. Some of them their own fault, some of them infrastructure related in terms of what's actually happening in South Africa. So, for BHP to come in now is always going to seem like a bit of a, timing-wise.
A lot of speculation that it won't just be BHP making a bid for this company. Who would top the list of other potential contenders? How much appetite is there within the mining sector for this business?
So compared to where we were in 2012, where people were just trying to buy anything and everything, it's got a lot calmer. We saw Glencore Tech last year. They probably got their hands full with that as that goes through the regulators. So it's not a long list of people. Probably Freeport and Rio Tinto are the top two names. But Rio Tinto, in my mind, is probably the one that is most willing to do the deal. They've said themselves, or certainly in recent commentary, that they're builders, not buyers, particularly when it comes to things like lithium. But at the end of the day, Anglo American is one of the very few assets or companies around which is somewhat in play that could be acquired. And if BHP, I don't think their current bid obviously has not been successful, but if they come back with a bit more, they're not going to just let BHP get their hands on it. So I expect their tune will change quite rapidly over the next couple of weeks.
OK, so we watch for that from Rio Tinto. Sure. How do you see this? I mean, you touch on it, you nod to it. How do you see this, Ben, unfolding in the weeks and months ahead? It's not going to get out of control. I don't see, you know, we're not expecting big cash bids or, you know, real kind of where we were back in the super cycle kind of charge days. But at the same time, you know, that those copper assets are very much in, you know, there is a very minority of them. So, yeah, you expect the bid premium to climb from here, for sure. What would a tie-up between BHP, and it's a big would, there's a big question mark clearly still over this, what would a tie-up between BHP and Anglo mean for the broader copper sector?
Yeah, it's one for, you know, what the regulators would be considering. I mean, it would make BHP the clear biggest copper miner in the world. They're already actually overtaking Codelco because of Codelco's poor performance. But, yeah, they're going to be considerable in size. Now, would this be an issue from a competition perspective, which some people have flagged? I don't think so. From a concentration perspective, they would have no market impact. And the idea that they would try and influence prices by pulling back production is somewhat farcical. But the Chinese might try and stick their oar in, that they did with Glencore and Xstrata with the tie-up there. They don't have real teeth, but obviously they buy most of the world's commodities, so they have some part to play.